So first thing I want to do is everybody say AI. All right, so I'm going to tweet this on @ProfSmack, and we're going to do hashtag SMU Summit, right? So it's a delight to come talk to you. Now, I'm going to speak about AI through the lens of entrepreneurship. So I'm a professor of entrepreneurship. I'm going to speak to AI through the lens of entrepreneurship in the context of blockchain. Woo! Wow, all right. So we're going to go fast. I will also say that a lot of what I'm going to show you right now in the next 10, 12 minutes is based on research that I personally did this summer traveling to London, Berlin, Malta, Beijing, Shanghai, and New York City. And I was basically visiting blockchain startups to say, hey, what are you doing? How are you creating jobs and all this kind of stuff? And so you're getting the latest and the greatest, all right? So hopefully you enjoy this. All right, so blockchain basics, and I'm going to talk about something that's very, very interesting called the distributed cooperative economy. All right, I want to begin with some predictions. What I want to do is I want to start by making sure that as we make predictions that we are careful to say that that this is something that we don't know. I mean, you can remember the old days of where half the people said, the internet's going to take over the world, right? And then the other half says, oh, internet's not going to be here, and it's going to be a bust. And so I am not here to predict anything. What I want to do is I just want to share with you some basic information, and I'm going to actually, okay, so I'm not sure why that other PowerPoint popped up, but this is the correct PowerPoint. This is what I wanted to show you. So Newsweek, this is a prediction that was made back in 1995, cover of Newsweek magazine. The internet, hype alert, all right? Why cyberspace isn't and will never be nirvana, right? Another very, very famous quote, this dude by the name of Robert Metcalfe, who invented the internet, believe it or not, the Ethernet, in 1995 in an article that he wrote for InfoWorld said, I predict the internet will soon go spectacularly supernova and then crash. All right? By the way, he's my colleague down at UT Austin running the Entrepreneurship Center down there, and we always have a kick out of this. And then I want to show you one more prediction, and this prediction is near and dear to me because I worked for Digital Equipment Corporation for 7 years. All right? The founder of Digital Equipment Corporation said in 1977, there's no reason for any individual to have a computer in your home. What do you need that for? Right? He meant the cloud. Little did he know he was talking about the cloud. So we got to be careful about predictions. Now, having said that, what is going on? Well, let's make some predictions. Gartner Group predicts the next 10 strategic areas that you should be focusing on is all these, 1, 2, 3, 4, healthcare, IoT, all this stuff, but in one of them is blockchain. A group of accounting firms that I've never really heard of, I don't know who these guys are, Deloitte, KPMG, EY, Pricewaterhouse, they formed this thing called a blockchain consortium. I don't know what they're thinking about doing, but they believe there's something there, right? And then if you take a look at this latest list of universities that are teaching blockchain courses, there's this university at the top that's teaching 10 blockchain courses called Stanford University. Whatever they believe, they're all in, right? Whatever that means, right? And then last but not least, this is hot off the presses. Shane stepped out. He showed me this. NYU becomes the first to allow students to major in cryptocurrency and blockchain. We have no idea what that means either. But boy, they're going all in if they're going to allow people to major, right? So we're in an area where we're trying to make some predictions, and it's a lot of fun for us in academia to make some predictions as well. But if you believe in the predictions, you'll realize you'll hear things like that blockchain would disrupt all sorts of things, right? It will disrupt digital currency, basically money. It will disrupt record keeping. So everywhere where you're tracking records, it will completely disrupt that whole industry. It will disrupt securities. In other words, how you raise capital as well as how you track assets, right? And then last but not least, it will distract smart contracts. And by the way, smart contracts is basically where AI is probably going to be utilized a lot in the context of blockchain, all right? And not only that, if you're PricewaterhouseCoopers, you say, not only is blockchain going to disrupt all these industries, blockchain is going to change the world. Actually, they say change the earth, right? And so here are all the different things, and it says blockchain game changers for the earth. So all the different ways that blockchain can make earth a better, safer, nicer, friendlier place to live, right? So this is very optimistic in terms of the predictions relative to blockchain. Whew. Okay, so what exactly is blockchain? Ladies and gentlemen, it depends. It depends on what? Depends on who you ask. Many of you have seen this slide, right? Where you have the elephant and you got these guys who have their eyes wrapped and they say, touch the elephant and describe the elephant. So this guy touches the sharp tusk, and says, oh, it's a knife. This guy touches his elephant and says, oh, I think it's a snake. This guy touches the elephant in the ear and says, I think it's a rug. This guy touches here and says it's a tree, says it's a snake, all sorts of different things, right? It's exactly the same thing right now when you talk about blockchain. Well, what do I mean? Well, for example, if you ask an accountant what is blockchain, the accountant type's going to love this thing called a distributed ledger, right? The ability to track all these transactions and put it in all these different places and do all sorts of cool things, and it can completely reduce audit times from 50 man days to 50 hours, right? Accountants talk about ledgers. You ask a finance person, the finance person says, oh, that's crypto. Right? That's cryptocurrencies, and that's new currencies, and also alternative assets, right? They're talking about investing. You talk to an economist, the economist really, really likes the idea of the tokenization of value. The ability to take any asset on the planet, tokenize it, and then take that token and make a market around it and trade it and see if the value goes up and down, right? Isn't that cool, right? And so they're also very interested in this thing called consensus modeling. How do you make decisions, again, AI, but also relative to on the blockchain? Technologists, they all wanted to say, oh, this is really, really cool technology. But really, it isn't cool technology because it's actually on public domain. I don't know if you guys know that. Blockchain is free. So what did the technologists think about blockchain? Great way to make some quick money. All right. Having gone to engineering school, a lot of them think that way, right? So, yeah. Bankers. What do bankers think about blockchain? They think about being disintermediated, right? Immediately, you don't need all these middlemen anymore, all right? And the other thing that they're very concerned about is money laundering, although it's sort of a false fear. The U.S. dollar is the #1 currency of crime, right? Not Bitcoin. If you ask an attorney, all they want to talk about is everything that's violating. It's violating this law, violating that law, violating this law, violating that law. Quit doing that. And you're like, what? Okay. Political scientists are getting involved in this. They want to say, blockchain can democratize the masses, right? It can elevate people from wherever they are, and they can have banking transactions. They can all vote. They have the rights. They have all these rights now. And so political scientists want to think about how that influences our elections. Oh, my goodness. Did I just say influencing elections? Sociologists are very interested in blockchain because it talks about what happens to society when personal information is transparent, right? And it's on this network somewhere where everybody can access. How does that shape and reshape how we behave? Libertarians will say, hey, I want to restore the middle class with blockchain, overthrow government, right? I mean, and then last but not least, as an entrepreneur, I'm thinking about new business opportunities, all right? Okay, so what is blockchain? At the end of the day, blockchain is just a global information network that has 4 characteristics. The first characteristic is that it's distributed, all right? So it has this thing called a distributed database, where the database is all distributed on the different nodes on the network, and so therefore there's this thing called transparency. Because it's the same database that's distributed, everybody is seeing the same data. Therefore, replacing trust, or what I call replacing mistrust, all right? The second aspect is that it's decentralized. In other words, there's no boss on this network. No one entity on the network can tell you what to do, and you can't tell me. It's all voting on, and it's all consensus. And what that means is that you can't change anything unless it's a consensus decision making. Then there's also cryptography. In other words, the information on there is basically secured in such a way that it's very, very difficult for people to see exactly what all the full transactions are, although that's not exactly true. It depends on how you define cryptography, right? And then last but not least, it is a public network where everybody on the network are basically incentivized with these things called tokens to process all these transactions that are going around, okay? So that's called mining. Not data mining, it's crypto mining. Well, here's what an architecture looks like, okay? So basically, here's the blockchain. Here's all the nodes on the blockchain. Here you have I/O devices, data input devices that puts information on the blockchain. All these computers go, yeah, we agree, we disagree, we agree, and boom, they all agree, boom, they put it in a block, they insert the block on this thing called the blockchain, and then they're done. Then what happens is typically there's a token, all right? If you actually are one of the lucky people to transact a certain transaction on the blockchain, you win a token. And then last but not least, you pull information off the blockchain to do whatever it is that you want to do. Okay? All right, so this is new, hot off the presses. So I go to all these cities and I ask people, what is your business model? And they all said to me, what are you asking me, Simon? I don't understand. And I said, how are you trying to make money? They're going, we haven't figured it out yet. I said, aha! So I had to go back and I had to teach the blockchain startups this slide. You have blockchain here. You have a private blockchain or a public blockchain. Private means it's only a certain group of people can get. Public basically means anybody. And you either have tokens, yes, or no tokens. All right, let's start right here. Public blockchain with tokens. The most famous public blockchain with token business model is cryptocurrency, and that's Bitcoin, right? So you can literally start a business, and all you're doing is basically your business model is to sell a cryptocurrency, and you hope that that works, okay? Then there's something called the utility token, and the utility token, if you can barely see this, but this is big text at the state fair. Remember you go to big state fair and you give them 20 bucks and they gave you what? 10 tickets. Well, those are basically tokens, right? And you can only use these tokens inside of the state fair. So there are business models that are developing where basically you have to buy my tokens in order, if you want to go into my state fair, in order for you to use the New York subway system, right? And so that's another business model that's evolving. And then the last business model that's evolving, and the securities people get really, really hyper about, it's called a security token, which is your token now is associated with the actual value of the business. All right, the actual value of the business, whether it's a percentage of the company, percentage of the profits, percentage of sales. All right, so that's public. Then there's private. Private is Kodak. Kodak just announced something called the Kodak coin. Basically, you have to buy the Kodak coin. You have to use it inside of the Kodak system, but it's basically allowing photographers to keep track of their photos so that you can control the intellectual property. That's the benefit that photographers get. Then you have private. No token, that's IBM. So all the commercials that you hear from IBM, just know that they're selling Hyperledger. Hyperledger is free, but where IBM makes money is they sell the hardware that the nodes are on, right? They sell the consulting services and a variety of other things, even the cloud storage. But they don't sell blockchain software, all right? And then last but not least is your public blockchain and you have no tokens. Nobody's doing that because why would you do that for free? All right? Last but not least, this is the last slide, all right? This is called the Cooperative Society. And this is what's one of the applications of blockchain. So Walmart had bad lettuce a couple of months ago. Remember that? There's this lettuce scare. So Walmart has actually worked with IBM to put together a private blockchain where they're forcing all of their suppliers to go onto this chain, right? So now you have to track all this information that the AI and the IoT devices are sucking in. Here's the clincher. They can force their suppliers, but they're also trying to get Kroger, Tom Thumb, Aldi, all these other grocery stores to be on their blockchain as well. It's called a wall chain if you Google that, right? And so we are going into a world where we call a co-opetition, right? Distributed co-opetition, where in order for everybody to be happy, people that you typically compete with, you share this information, all right? And so it's a very, very fascinating world that we're living in. Ultimately, the question is, what applications can you really use where all information is on this network, where it cannot be changed? It's permanently on that network, and where everybody on that network can access, right? So that's the use case. That's called a use case. Then the entrepreneur piece of it is, how do you make money out of that, right? And so those are the different things that we want to talk about, and that's what I looked at, okay? So that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here, and hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.